Well, joining us now for further analysis on those market moves is Vik Sharma from Differential Capital. Hi, Vik. Good to see you once again and good to chat. Now, the markets at the moment, like I said, the all share down about a third at the moment. What are you seeing today?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for having me. I think it's basically the risk of sentiment, right? Like you were mentioning, what Uncle Trump is trying to do with kind of trying to bully the EU right now, which kind of obviously not only in terms of, just the Greenland Pact, but I think a bigger implications with regards to, what happens to NATO, right? All these alliances. So in the name of your national security, a lot of things are being done, and I think it's just basically that uncertain times for the market in terms of what will happen. I think you also mentioned clearly the French president was talking about some kind of anti-coercion instrument, which obviously kind of fires back. So kind of if you remember, rewind back to last year during April, what was happening, we're kind of pretty much going in the same vein. Whether it is a 10% tariff or a 25% tariff, what will be charged, what will not be charged, who will be spared, why was Italy spared. So it's just the uncertain times.
Yeah.
I think like you said, you can't get enough gold because that is the insurance.
But also, the dollar at the moment, the dollar is the big casualty. Of course, we're smiling with our rand. We did lose about 6 cents from last week's average, but this is hurting the United States.
Yeah, I think, like I said, you know what? You've got these alliances of NATO. You don't want to follow them. This whole tariff war, and if you actually go back at basically Ukraine-Russia war, that was when the world decided when Russian assets in dollars were frozen that possibly they need to diversify away from dollars. And I think more and more reasons coming through that why you need to diversify away from dollars. It's good for emerging markets, it's good for other assets, good for South Africa. We have a lot of gold in our index. Not to mention, like you say, going away from dollar obviously helps us as an emerging market as well. So yeah, essentially, kind of dollar weakening is just probably gaining more momentum, and people have to rethink their strategy of kind of being in the US.
Yeah, right. It is a public holiday in the United States. They're sleeping anyway at the moment. What are you watching? It seems just to be a very quiet day.
So essentially, I think more than today, Davos World Economic Forum seems to be kind of a big point. I think it's on Wednesday that Mr. Trump is kind of presenting, although a lot of people are kind of indicating he'll talk about his housing market and potential boost in the housing market that he's going to bring in. But one of the biggest contingent that is going, World Economic Forum normally has been about Europe, right? So essentially, what I would like to see is some kind of decisive step from them, right? You've got so much representation that is coming from the US, which probably is not believing in kind of what you want to call as consultative decision making right now. So yeah, maybe if there is some kind of decisiveness from this European bloc to come out and to say something or do something against this bullying that has been happening, I think that'll be probably of interest over the course of this week for us.
Well, this is interesting because, like you say, on the one hand, you've got the United States with their biggest delegation in years, led by US President Donald Trump. Then you've got the EU guys coming as well. But then you've got South Africa. These are three opposing forces at the moment. Are they going to be talking about trade, or what are they going to be talking about?
I think more than the trade, it's normally like economic development that is talked about. Like SA will talk about how people are kind of getting out of poverty. US was probably going to talk about how he's going to help people get more housing, etc. So essentially, it is more economically driven. But the whole idea is, at some point in time, somebody needs to show some kind of fight back to Mr. Trump, even though they are allies. So I'm more interested in what the European guys have to say. But it is a more economic agenda. Yes, they will talk, and I hopefully there is some good talk that comes out of it. It's quite interesting that Trump is bringing one of the biggest contingent to WEF when he doesn't want to work with anyone, it seems like.
What's in it for small business? And if you look at the JSE, you look at some of the counters there as well, and people are looking for these big trade deals. If we have to go park the politics on one side, I was reading somewhere that there are fewer and fewer small businesses or captains of industry going to Davos. Do you think it's lost its shine a bit?
To an extent, yes, right? I mean, I think world was a lot more globalized, so everybody wanted to know what everyone else was thinking. Now that's not the case. I mean, I think, for the lack of a better word, I would say there is a deliberate deglobalization that is happening, in the name of whatever you want to call it, security, etc. So each one on his own. So everybody's less interested. I mean, I think it's kind of becoming pretty much, this is mine and I'm going to tax you if you don't have it. We are not going to share resources. So essentially, for a business, it doesn't really matter in terms of, what everyone's thinking about. The world's not global enough. It's more about what is my cocoon, who are my customers, what are they thinking about, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. I mean, I think it's probably might have lost its charm a little bit, but hopefully, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, I think, and people can work together.
I want to go back to the markets, though. I mean, how damaging is this for market stability at the moment? It just seems to be open warfare when it comes to trade tariffs, one versus the other. This is very destabilizing for markets. I mean, people just don't know where they are.
For sure. I mean, I think an uncertainty, if there is one thing that market hates, is uncertainty, right? And that's exactly what the point is, right? What shots fired from one side, what is the other side going to say? You can't really calculate, hey, I mean, I'm invested in the X company. If the tariff is 10, if the tariff is 25, is their product included? Which factories are in which EU country? Italian factories are actually, exempted because Italy was not named. So it's just the uncertainty of it, which obviously keeps the market hanging. Market normally, loves certainty in terms of, whether it is bad news or good news, at least so that they can price it in. This is very tough pricing in. So that's why you see these kind of, risk off kind of, reactions that you see.
Right, park their thoughts. Before we move on to your stock pick, Vik, let's reflect on some counters that have found favor with your industry peers.
We do like Sibanye. We are very constructive on the PGM space, and we think gold will at the very least probably hold. And I don't think Sibanye reflects the spot prices at all. And also, if you compare Sibanye on a relative basis to something like Impala, we think there's a big disconnect. The reason for that is we think a lot of the fund managers in South Africa has been buying the niche specialist players, like if you're on PGMs, you buy Impala directly, and there are reluctant buyers of a company like Sibanye because of the track record historically when it comes to corporate action. We think that's now in the past. They're going to have a capital markets day soon, and we think that could be seen as very positive, and we see there's a good entry point at the moment, and as also Roy said earlier, a very leveraged play on the PGMs as well as gold.
So I like Bidcorp. I think it's been sold off on two accounts. First of all, the stronger rand, and because most of its earnings are in hard currencies, as the rand becomes stronger, it looks less impressive from an earnings perspective, purely because of the translation impact. And then the whole idea that inflation is a lot lower globally, so maybe eating out might not be the thing that people in developed markets do. I think this is a business that earns an ROE ahead of its cost of capital very consistently. They've got a very solid balance sheet, very little debt. They've got a big global presence and they continue to grow.
Right, Vik, two very interesting ones there. Now, Sibanye-Stillwater, obviously, look, that's a no-brainer at the moment with the gold price and mineral prices going north. What are you seeing?
I think, yeah, I mean, also remember coming from the guest himself mentioned that people look at Impala and Northam as the more quality ones. So remember, Sibanye was actually coming back from 2 or 3 years ago where it had some kind of balance sheet issues. So once you recover from that position into a position of strength, you obviously tend to outperform. So it is the most geared, if you want to call it. So if you're, very positive on gold and platinum, like everyone is, commodities is the new buzzword. Sibanye-Stillwater is the most geared play. I mean, that is what you have to accept.
Right.
Is it the most quality play? Probably not, but the most geared. If you want to play the cycle, probably makes sense to have it because it will obviously outperform everyone else.
Yeah, play the cycle. I like that. And then there's Bidcorp, also another strong one as well.
Bidcorp, great pick from Roy. Remember, it's not its year because we're talking about rand strength, US dollar not doing quite well, and that company reports in hard currency, is a more hard currency. Fabulous business, still got Europe, where it needs to expand. One of the growth stories out of SA, which has actually, pretty much put SA on the global map. I mean, I think UK, Europe, emerging markets everywhere. Great company, consistent compounder. It is looking cheap, but its peers are also looking cheap in the US, and which are not
Right.
re-rating. So probably not the year for Bidcorp this year, but for a longer term perspective, I totally agree with Roy where what he's kind of indicating. It is a compounder. You're getting it cheap. Rand is playing its hand right now. Remember, you have to
Sure.
do opposite of what everyone's trying to do. So try to get some hard dollar earnings in your portfolio when you can, when it is cheap.
Yeah.
And eventually, things when turn the other way, you'll probably see the benefit of it.
There we go. You make some money. Right. Your stock pick at the moment.
So I'm, as I've always said, I'm a big SA Inc. lover, and I still think the SA Inc. is not pricing in what our bond yields are, right?
Right.
So our market potentially has a lot of, let's call it, room to show, growth from the low levels and low valuation that we have. So not very sexy pick in terms of, it's not a commodity stock or anything. It's more Raubex. So we are not in a full bang cycle of investment or infrastructure spend. That said, the road spends are still growing. They had a mining business, which basically is involved in chrome mining. Chrome prices are going up, but they've said they want to sell that mining business.
Right.
Normally, mining businesses actually trade at a lower multiple than your normal industrial multiple, and Raubex itself has been trading below its historic average multiple.
Right.
So they had a bad Australian contract, which is now in the base. They could sell their mining business and you get all that cash, which they could use to repurchase shares or kind of give you a special. It's probably going to grow at, between 10 to 15%, assuming that, you don't have an infrastructure boom, because if South Africa gets more money now with this our terms of trade, you could potentially see, a little more investment in infrastructure, which could benefit them. So I think, they're trading at, less than 6 times.
Sure.
12 months forward PE. The historic average has been 9. I think probably a bit of an opportunity there, a still neglected stock, 100% SA Inc., and a good story.
Yeah, and a good idea as well. Vik, thank you very much. Good to have you
Thank you.
on Business Lunch. That was Vik Sharma from Differential Capital.